Hey there, welcome to the Love Letter Knits podcast. I'm Gabriella and this is the very first episode of my knitting and crochet podcast. I have loved watching knitting and crochet podcasts for the last couple of years and I thought, why not just start one myself and show you what I've been working on and just share my love for the crafts and the fibers on the internet. So here we go. A little bit about me. I have lived in Arizona my whole life, so you might think, why is she knitting? Even though we don't have a particularly cold climate, I did learn to knit when I was very young. Both of my grandmothers taught me. I was probably 8 or 9 years old. And then I picked up crochet when I was a little bit older. I think I was 11. And my mom just kind of signed me up in classes and I picked it up pretty quick. So it's kind of always been there in my life as a way to stay connected with the older generations of women in my life, and I was really sad that I let it go for so long. I don't think I knit or crocheted much during high school and even most of college. I did pick it back up when I went to law school. It was a great way for me to get away from the books, use my hands to keep my brain still engaged, but not always focused on reading. And I felt a lot of comfort in just touching yarn and getting to make garments for the very first time. I finally kind of upgraded my skills from just making simple scarves and hats to actually knitting my very first sweater. I started it in January of 2020 and finished it in I believe mid-April of 2020. And so that really gave me the confidence to keep going, and here we are today. So I do have a notebook with notes on the projects that I want to talk about today, so hopefully that will keep me on track and not rambling too much. So you can find me on Ravelry. My username is Gabriella Creates, and I will have it linked below in the description. And my Instagram is just at @loveletterknits. The first finished object that I have to talk about, I actually don't have with me because it was something that I knit for someone else. I had a friend who was going on a trip to New York in February, and he needed a scarf, so I did knit him a scarf. I looked in Ravelry and I couldn't really find a pattern that I liked, so I actually just took out my handy Vogue Knitting Stitch Dictionary. If you don't have this book, I would highly recommend it. It doesn't teach you anything about technique, so you would probably want to pick up the Vogue Knitting general book if you are just starting out, because that will teach you basic techniques. This is fully just stitch patterns. If you do have this book, I used the Seeded Windowpane stitch. Let's see if I can show you without giving away too much information. So it is in the knit and purl section. Oh, this is awkward. Is this stitch right here. And so just created a really cool diamond trellis effect that I thought was really cool. He wanted it to be an infinity scarf to keep him warmer, and he wanted it in gray, and he liked the chunkier yarns that I showed him. I felt like a textured stitch pattern like that was still pretty simple was going to be the best and most versatile for him when he was creating outfits for New York. I knit that. Let me see if I can find the yarn. I should have come prepared with this yarn, but I forgot. I knit that out of Lion Brand, Hometown USA. This is how much of the final skein I have left. I bought 3 balls and I used 2, and I would say it's probably about half. And it is in the color Chicago Charcoal, so we'll see. It's a very, this is almost showing it too light, very pretty medium to dark charcoal. Super soft. I loved working with it, and I want to make another one for myself. So I didn't use a pattern for that. I just kind of worked off the number of stitches needed for the seeded window pane, taking into account that it was going to be an infinity scarf, so I didn't need an extra stitch on the end. And just did a gauge swatch to check and went from there. So I find that scarves are probably the easiest for me to just make without a pattern. I don't know why, but that's been really fun for me to kind of start learning and dipping my toe into designing without having to commit to sizing and things like that. So that was a really fun project, and I loved making that one. And I will insert a picture of the finished object here. Cool. The second finished object that I want to talk about in this episode is the Fadeaway Shell. This is by the Turtle Trunk. I believe the pattern is on Ravelry. And she also has it on her blog, and I will link those in the description box below. It is so pretty. I made this in the 2 skein version because I had 2 skeins of Loops and Thread Chameleon in the color Cookies and Cream. I believe that yarn has been discontinued because I bought it on clearance at Michael's. It is an acrylic yarn, and it has a natural striping to it, so I was a little bit worried actually when I saw, you know, this part was growing beautifully, but then eventually got to the point where there were multiple colors in a stripe, and I thought that might cause problems, but it actually, I think, created a really cool effect, and I am so happy that I made it. I did have to use a much larger crochet hook than what the pattern called for, so this is a USL 8mm crochet hook that I used for this project, and I think that's because I used a very different yarn than what the pattern called for. But it still achieved a very airy look that was similar to what she had in her pattern photos. So yeah, that is the Fadeaway Shawl by the Turtle Trunk, and I actually just keep it on the back of my chair almost all the time. So I'm going to put it back. That was my notebook falling. So that shawl just lives on the back of my chair when I'm working. I do work from home, so when I get cold I can just put it on my lap or throw it on my shoulders. It still looks professional in meetings, and it's super great. The third work in progress that I'm going to share today is the Moonstone plaid blanket. If you haven't made a 2-of-1s pattern, who are you? Honestly, it's so big that I can't really show it all, but these are the colors that I chose. So color A is Ozone. It's kind of a purpley gray. And then color B was the Fatigues, sagey green. Color C was called Rosewater. It's this really beautiful peachy pink, but it's there's another pink that's peachy that's called Bellini. This one is definitely more pink than that. And then color D was Arrowwood. I started this almost a year ago when the yarn showed up in the mail. I was so excited. I bought it as a kit on linebrand.com. This is made in Hue and Me, which is a chunky wool acrylic blend. I have a ton of it on my shelf. So let me get the exact blend for you. It is 80% acrylic, 20% wool. I fell in love with it because of the, obviously the plaid effect that the weaving creates, and the fact that the colors were so easy to mix and match. I don't do a whole lot of color work, partially because I get so scared that I'm not going to be able to come up with a very cohesive color palette. But Hue and Me made it really easy for me to try out something with stripes, and I felt like I was able to get a color palette that really matched my personality and the way that I like to decorate my spaces. So the reason it took me so long was not the amount of time that it took to crochet, it was the fact that I was so scared to make all of these strips. You have to make 2 strands for each space in between stitches to get this plaid effect, and I just could not get myself to make it, especially when we were in the middle of a move. So I finally did get going on that. It was kind of my football season project. I started cutting out the strands, I think at the beginning of the season, and then I finished it up right around Christmas before the new year. And it's technically still not completely finished, but it's finished enough for me to feel like I can start using it. I do just need to do, there's some twisting to keep the strands from fraying at the ends that I need to do, but it's been keeping me warm and I've been loving the finished product, so I think it's finished enough to talk about in a podcast. Moving on to works in progress. I have a lot of works in progress from 2021. I feel like 2021 was my year of starting a bunch of sweaters and not finishing them. So my goal this year is to not judge myself for that. I think that it's okay to take a break from things. You can be really excited about something and then lose interest in it over time, and I feel like I want to just let knitting be free for me. So I just want to knit on what makes me happy at the time. Obviously when I'm knitting something on the timeline because someone else needs something, I have to get it done on time. That's a little bit different, but I don't commit to too many gift knits or anything like that. I keep all of my whips by my bed in this storage bin, and it's been the best thing for keeping me interested and like remembering that I'm working on these projects, and also it's so convenient because I can just knit in bed, pull it out of here, work on it, and then dump it back and just fall asleep. So that's been great. So the first whip that I want to share is a cardigan that I've been working on for my sister. She is absolutely a huge fan of Animal Crossing, and I am too, but not in the same level that she is. She has made some incredible islands. I wish I could create as fast as she does on Animal Crossing. She loves the character Isabelle, and she wanted her own version of Isabelle's cardigan, so I've been working on that. It has been a huge labor of love. She is crocheting me a character that I love, so I feel like, you know, we're going back and forth for each other in the craft that we're more skilled at. I can crochet, but not as well as she can. So this one has really pretty moss stitch cabling. I also got that stitch pattern out of the Vogue Knitting Stitch Dictionary. And then on the back I used just basic 6-stitch think this is a left-leaning cable. I haven't been doing cables that long, so I'm not totally sure. I did a lot of reverse stockinette because I liked that the cabling really stood out on it. And the front panels just have this moss stitch cabling all the way down. I did do increasing and decreasing along the armhole space, but I didn't do any at the collar to account for the neckband. And I wish I had, so I'm gonna actually have to kind of tack it down and sew it in so that it kind of forms a curve that I can use to pick up stitches to knit the button band. But that's okay. I checked with her, she didn't mind. So that's the plan we're gonna go with. And then I have been working on the sleeves. This is my first time doing a set-in sleeve. I made it just in pure regular stockinette stitch and a ribbed cuff to match the ribbing on the rest of the sweater. I had no idea how to shape the sleeves. It's all curling up on itself because of stockinette, but I needed to increase until it was the right circumference around for the armpit, but I did not know how to decrease for a sort of set-in sleeve. So I actually pulled out the Harry Potter Knitting Magic book because I am working on the, there it is, the Hogwarts house cardigan. I'm making mine in Ravenclaw colors, and I use the Ravenclaw colors from the books, not the movies. That one's been sitting on the needles for a while, so I'm not going to share it until I'm actively working on it again. But this book has the pattern to do the set-in sleeves, which was what I had hoped to do for this sweater. I'm not sure that doing set-in sleeves without a pattern for the very first time was the smartest move, but it's the decision I made, so I'm sticking with it. And so I was able to finish up one sleeve yesterday, and I have this much on the needles. I did knit the body of this cardigan in 3 pieces and just sewed it together. I used the mattress stitch to form basically invisible seams, but here's what it looks like on the inside. I absolutely love that technique. If you want a tutorial on how to do the mattress stitch, let me know. I would be more than happy to film that. Okay, and the yarn that I'm knitting that out of is Lion Brand Pout of Love. I recently got a ball winder, and I'm so glad I did because I didn't have any issues with tangling until after I finished the body. And then it just kept tangling on itself because I had done a center pull and it was just getting so unruly. So I've kicked it up, and I have used about 1 skein by the time I finish the second sleeve. And then I'll have enough left over to sew with it. So 1 skein of Pound of Love was more than enough to make that cardigan for my sister, who's pretty small. So if I was going to make a bigger size, I probably would buy 2. I don't know if that's relevant. Anyway, the second whip that I want to share today is the Streamline Tank by 2 of Wands. This is one of the things that actually got me back into knitting. I saw the pattern on Pinterest, and I thought it was beautiful. I wanted to buy the garment, and then I realized it was knit, and that got me so excited. It has these really cool details that run all the way up the side into this strap, and then it also is in the middle of the garment, which I think is so cute. I am knitting a size medium. I have changed nothing about the garment that's deviating from the pattern. I was able to match gauge perfectly with the same yarn and same needles as what Alexandra used when she made the pattern. I am knitting this out of Kobu in olive, and this is my second skein. For the other half, that you make 2 pieces that are identical. And this is how much I have left of the first skein from making the front of the tank top. So if you're knitting a size medium, you can meet the gauge. You definitely just need 2 balls of Kobu to get the project done. So I'm super excited to have it halfway done. I did that in about 3 weeks. If I had been knitting on it consistently, I probably would have gotten it done faster, but I was trying to get my sister's cardigan done, so that kind of took priority. But yeah, I am hoping that by the next episode I will have a finished object to show you. It is getting really hot here in Arizona, so definitely looking forward to having some knit tank tops ready to go. Okay. And the final work in progress that I've actually been doing more or less consistently, so I feel like it warrants talking about on this podcast, is the Avenue sweater. This is a sweater that I purchased on lionbrand.com as part of the kit. Sorry, needed to get my notebook back out. And it was designed by Knitting Wonders. I am knitting this in the Lion Brand Heartland in Black Canyon. Unfortunately, I was not able to find this kit on Lion Brand's website, and I can't find the pattern anymore, so I don't know if it was discontinued or something like that, but I was able to get the front of the sweater done. It just has a basic ribbing at the bottom, and then it's stockinette all the way through. It's kind of hard to see because the yarn is black, but doing the best I can. And then you do some shaping for the armhole, and then shaping to achieve a scooped neckline. And I am using the Lion Brand Heartland in the color Black Canyon. It is a really pretty black heathered yarn. Super soft. This was what turned me on to Lion Brand Heartland. It was the first time I bought it, was in this kit. And I stocked up a lot, and then I realized that I want to kind of go away from using so much acrylic yarn. It is really what's in my budget, but I don't love the impact on the environment. Sorry, my video cut off. That's so weird. Like I was saying, acrylic yarns are super budget friendly, but I don't love the impact that the acrylic has on the environment. It's, you know, a plastic, so it's made out of petroleum, and that has its own emissions issues and pollution issues. And then when you wash garments that are made out of acrylic, they do release microplastics into the water. So I'm hoping to invest in a guppy bag soon. I have heard that that helps a lot with reducing microplastics. But basically I'm at the point where I'm going to use up my acrylic yarn stash and not purchase any more unless it is for a very specific purpose where I need to have acrylic or something like that. So that's my kind of plan going forward. I love that knitting and crochet helps to be a little bit more sustainable because it's reducing our impact on the environment in that there's less of the labor issues involved, and we have the opportunity to source our yarns sustainably, and we're not buying into fast fashion by making our own clothing instead. So that's something that I really want to work towards, and I'm hoping that this podcast can kind of be an accountability mechanism for me in making sure that I'm living out my values as I'm enjoying this hobby. So that is the Avenue sweater. I still have to make the back and the 2 sleeves and then sew it all up together. So that is probably a whip that will be going for a while. I debated not showing it because it is no longer available on Lion Brand's website, but I think there are other alternatives for like a basic scoop neck sweater that are out there. So if I can find one, I will link it in the description below as kind of a dupe for that sweater. Moving on to the last segment in this episode, yarn acquisitions. I don't expect to have yarn acquisitions in every single video. I'm trying again to be a little bit more sustainable with the way I go about crafting. I've amassed a pretty big stash, and so I want to use that stash up. But if there's a pattern that just doesn't have yarn or doesn't call for the kind of yarn that I have in my stash, I am comfortable buying some more yarn for that project. It's upside down, it's backwards. The first acquisition is Hue and Me, which is 2 of Wands collaboration with Lion Brand. And she recently released 6 new colors, which I was so excited about. And this is Salt, which is just a really pretty cream color. I'm super excited about this because I can use it to contrast with basically all of the other Hue and Me yarns that are in my stash, and I hope to get my hands on some more. I don't know how much more of this I'm going to get because it doesn't get that cold here to really need wool. So if I don't have any real need for more wool yarns, then I won't be picking up that much more. But if I am going to get a wool containing yarn, this is it for me. The next kind of yarn haul I went on was a recent trip to Joann's. After I finished that scarf for my friend, I wanted to go back because I was looking for some more yarn to do some fun spring and summer knitting with. So I picked up 3 balls of Lion Brand Pima cotton. This is a 100% cotton yarn. It is a worsted weight, and I got the color Blueprint, and I got 3 skeins of this for a, oh, it's got a bunch of fuzz in it, for a tank top project that I had in mind. I also picked up Lion Brand True Boo for the first time. This is a 100% rayon from bamboo yarn, so it is plant-based, and it is a DK weight, and I got the color blue. And I did pick up 3 skeins of this for a different tank top project. I'm planning on doing a video where I share how I'm planning for my spring and summer knits, which are almost all completely cotton or cotton blend or bamboo yarns. And then I also picked up at the same trip Oh Baby Organic, also by Lion Brand. This is 100% organic cotton. I got it in 2 colors, denim, and this one is called Ecru. These are a sport weight cotton yarn, and I got 2 of the white and 2 of the white and 4 of the blue, thinking of crocheting either a bralette or a kind of cropped tank top, and using the blue as the main color and then the white to do like straps or some like lace detailing on the edges that I thought would be really cute. Okay. And that was the only kind of more recent box store yarns that I got, because I made the investment to start getting some hand-dyed yarns. So this is the One Club to Rule Them All mystery club from Long Dog Yarn, and she has already revealed the color for February, so I feel comfortable showing this. So this was the Council of Elrond, and I got it on her Luxe fingering base, and it is just stunning, the colors. It's not a perfect skein because I was going to wind it up into a ball, and then I realized I probably shouldn't put that tension on the yarn if I wasn't sure what project I was going to work on. But it's beautiful. It just has these greens and yellows that are so rich, and then there's these pops of purple and white that I just adore. So I am going to make this with something very special because it is 80% superwash merino, 10% nylon, and 10% cashmere. So definitely going to make it into a garment that will be close to the skin because it is so soft and so special. So that was my very, very first hand-dyed yarn ever, and I was not disappointed. And it is a fingering weight, if I didn't mention that already. And look how cute her packaging is, I forgot to mention. Like, what? And then this cute You've Got Squishy Mail sticker. I loved it. I will definitely be purchasing from her again. And the last shopping trip that I went on was to one of the 2 local yarn stores here in my town, and I picked up Bamboo Pop. This is a 50% cotton, 50% bamboo blend. It's a DK weight, and I got the color True Red. I bought 2 balls of that to make another tank top. Lots of tank tops in mind for the upcoming months. I also picked up 2 balls of Queensland United cotton. This is a lamb's wool cotton blend. 55% lamb's wool, 45% cotton. It is a Craft Yarn Council number 2. And you get 251 yards for a 50 gram ball. So I picked up 2 of those for a tank top. And I try not to. My sister told me I needed to just stop if I didn't have a plan for the yarns, but when I saw these, I could not help myself. So I got these 2 skeins from Emma's Yarn. It is the color Foxy Lady, and it's really hard to capture this color on camera. Maybe if I turn it this way. No, it's showing up so red on camera, but these are a beautiful orange tonal yarn. There's a little bit of red and a little bit of like more pumpkin-y orange tones to it. This is her 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon base, and there are 200 yards and 50 grams. So I picked up 2 of those. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do with them yet, but it will be something special. I've been looking for a really good cinnamony orange to make a sweater out of because I've been wanting one for so long, and this is close. But obviously I don't have a sweater's quantity worth, so we'll see. Maybe these will be my first pair of socks. Not sure. So that's it for my yarn acquisitions. Let me just take a look at my notebook to make sure I got everything that I wanted to talk about today. I did. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the entirety of my podcast. I really appreciate you. And if you liked what I had to show you today, I hope you will click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell down below to be notified of my next episode. My plan is to record a podcast every other week, at least for now. I do work a full-time job doing research and teaching at a university, so knitting is kind of my downtime in the evenings and on the weekends. That's kind of my priority. So I can't always guarantee that I'm going to have enough progress going on my projects to warrant doing a weekly podcast at this point. But I think every other week is a good plan. And then on weeks when I'm not going to be uploading a podcast, I will be doing another style of video, whether that's doing a tutorial or a knit and chat or like a finished object focused video, or even a good old like knit and crochet with me where I just throw on some ambient music and work on my projects and you can work on yours at the same time. With everything that's been going on in the world, I haven't really been able to get super involved in my local knitting community, but I have loved finding a sense of community online with other knitters and crocheters, and so I would love to kind of get that going on my own channel by doing those kind of knit with me videos. So again, if you want to keep up with me on social media, I am on Instagram at LoveLetterKnits, and I'm starting to use my Ravelry account a little bit more, and I'm Gabriella Creates on there. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.